General Mark Milley there in stinging comments to Republicans yesterday, who mounted the latest in a series of attacks on the U.S. military. One day later, the right has crossed a once unimaginable red line. Fox News, which proved itself to be the media-run state over the past 5 years, has finally jumped the shark, calling for Congress to defund the military for the crimes of intellectual curiosity, anti-racist views, and a burning desire to understand white rage. Milley's rebuke to the right's ugly braid of racism, anti-intellectualism, and pro-insurrection might have, in another time, broken the fever of insanity on the right. But these are not normal times, and this is how the right reacted.
The idea that we are sending our tax dollars to this military to an attempt to weed out so-called extremists, which just means conservative evangelical, as far as I can tell. We're paying for that? Why is Congress not saying we're not going to give you a penny until all of this is eradicated from the military budget? Nothing. This is my offer to you. Nothing. That's what I would say.
There you have it, right? The right officially breaking up with long-standing pro-law enforcement views in the wake of the deadly insurrection, and now the right staking out its ground. As you saw right there, brazenly, bravely, proudly anti-military. And that's not an outlier. The right has been flirting with this war against the military for months.
We're seeing Democratic politicians and these woke lefty bureaucrats and lefty media reporters trying to destroy the American military, trying to turn it into, frankly, a bunch of pansies.
They say that your stand down regarding extremism did not help our military. It hurt the military. And I want to share with you that perspective, that it caused service members to otherize one another. It impaired group cohesion.
How do sex changes in the military make this country safer? That's not a trick question. It's the only question that matters, literally the only question that matters. But no one bothered to ask it, probably because no one can remember why the U.S. military exists.
Now, before this, there are no known examples of one of the two major political parties in the United States calling for defunding the U.S. military over a simple desire to understand what was behind an attack against the United States Capitol and Constitution, as Milley made clear. Nor is there any precedent for defunding the military over intellectual curiosity. But here we are. And the accused child sex trafficker didn't back down. No. He took to the battlefield of Twitter to attack General Milley after the hearing. The accused child sex trafficker saying this, quote, "With generals like this, it's no wonder we've fought considerably more wars than we've won." To which retired three-star General Mark Hertling clapped back. "Hey, Matt Gaetz, see those stripes on General Milley's right sleeve? Each one represents 6 months in combat. Defense Secretary Austin has more, but they aren't on his suit. You really want to do this?" It appears they do. The war of words between four-star generals and the GOP is where we start this hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Paul Rieckhoff is here, host of the Independent Americans podcast, president of Righteous Media, and founder of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. The newest episode of his podcast features my dear friend, Rosie Perez. Also with us, the executive editor of Defense One, Kevin Barron. Congressman Ro Khanna is here, Democrat of California and a member of the House Armed Services Committee. And Kimberly Atkins-Storr is here, senior opinion writer for the Boston Globe and an MSNBC contributor. Congressman, let me start with you. Your reaction and anything you can add to our understanding of what went on yesterday.
Well, I was so proud of General Milley and Secretary Austin. I was proud to be an American because I believe in America's exceptionalism. I was born in Philadelphia in 1976, our bicentenary. And you know what makes us exceptional? That we have leaders who are well-read, that we have leaders who can understand that race and gender are issues and don't hide that and actually want America to be better. So I thought they conducted themselves with such dignity, and the vast majority of Americans would be proud of how they handled themselves.
Paul Rieckhoff, your reaction to what you saw, not just from General Milley, but from the Republicans.
Well, the culture war led by members of the GOP has now fully bled into the military. Our troops, our military leaders, our Secretary of Defense are under political attack, not by ISIS or by al-Qaeda, but by radical, extremist, anti-American elected officials, pundits on TV and other blowhards that are putting themselves and their personal political agenda ahead of our military and ahead of our national security and ahead of our country. I mean, our enemies are celebrating to see elected leaders attacking the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, a respected combat leader who has integrity, who has honor, by Matt Gaetz, who frankly is a coward, who's never served in uniform and should probably be in jail. This is how far it's gotten. And I think it's political suicide for the Republicans. It's going to drive independents like me and moderates across the country running from the Republican Party. This is their equivalent of defund the police. And I think it'll have the same reaction from the middle of the country.
Say more, Paul, about what the men and women of the military think when they see General Milley attacked like that.
He is the senior leader for the entire military while we're at combat, right? So there are troops right now watching this in Afghanistan, around the world, and that's their boss. And they see this whiny guy in a suit who, again, probably should be in jail, who's in Congress, who's running around on Fox, attacking the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, questioning his integrity, questioning his honor, questioning his patriotism. That's something you expect from enemies, not elected leaders in Congress. But this is not new. Right? This goes back to a lot of the agenda that Trump pushed. This is the same group of people who attacked John McCain, who attacked the Khan family, the Gold Star Khan family. They took money away from the Pentagon to pay for the wall. This is not just a one-off. This has been an escalation of the last few years, and it could get even worse.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Barron, I owe you an apology. I came on the air in this hour yesterday. We were just getting this video in, and I said that there were no newspaper stories. Now, technically true, I meant on the major newspaper websites, but you had already written this up. Tell me about your reporting.
Yeah, you're forgiven. Our charter caught the exchange, as did lots of other people, and we quickly, did our best to put it out. And I just wrote a longer column about this, piggybacking off what you were saying and what Paul is saying. This is now the sixth example in the last 6 months or so of the right and the commentators like Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, and Gates going directly at the military more and more. But initially, they avoided challenging people like Milley, the Joint Chiefs, and they keep saying this is a liberal conspiracy that is taking over the military, or is turning the military into something the military doesn't want, shouldn't be, doesn't need, which is frankly the same argument that I've heard as a reporter about women in combat, about transgender troops, about gays in the military, and it goes all the way back to integration of races in the military, back in the 40s. So the idea that you could directly attack the Joint Chiefs is new and is different. I think there's a little bit of nuance in here to say that, we all know the critical race theory story is in part a charade for racism. All right. It's a lot of the pushback of the last year by white Americans who feel, wait a minute, I'm not all these horrible things you're talking about. Why are you going to teach this thing? So what happened yesterday was an example where it wasn't even Gates. It was this other representative, Waltz, who is a Green Beret and is, the only one in Congress, is a veteran who just said, look, this is being taught at West Point. And the exchange was pretty benign. It wasn't like fireworks. It was Milley saying, a lot of things are taught at West Point, and it should be. I'm a Green Beret too, and I want to know why white rage in this country is where it is, and why people felt they were going to attack this building in the Congress, and as he said it, the Constitution that I'm sworn to defend, and which they are, foreign and domestic enemies. So, Paul's right. There's a lot of troops who are seeing their boss be attacked by a partisan firebrand, but there are a lot of troops that also are saying we don't want to do this, or why are we being put through this? And we're going to go through these machinations. But on this, it seems to me like Gates is on kind of the wrong side of history to these similar examples in the past that the military has gone through with politicians.
When General Milley says, Kevin Barron, I want to understand white rage, is that an opinion shared by a lot of his peers? I mean, he's talking about understanding it in the context of the attack on the United States Capitol, and he used the word the Constitution. And what he didn't say was, why don't you? I mean, what isn't being talked about is that he's before Republicans who didn't want to have an investigation. I mean, what is sort of the mood in the military that there isn't a bipartisan, depoliticized investigation into the events leading up to it?
Yeah, Milley did say what's wrong with wanting to understand this. He didn't get an answer to it. Milley's language about the Constitution goes back to the previous year and with Trump, right?